bag on, grow my bag on TV. How are you doing today? I know it's a slow morning. I'm just waking up. You know what I mean? Just kind of shaking off the cobwebs. What was I met with this morning? Former Prince Andrew has been arrested. The former Prince of the United Kingdom has been arrested. I want you to play that over in your head, and I want you to let it wash over you for a minute. The reason why this is important to affecting your bags is because it demonstrates that if the Epstein files can rock a monarchy, it can rock anything. You've already had a talent executive say that he's got to sell his company, and he's already taken steps to do so. You've seen the chairman of Hyatt Hotels give up his position, effective immediately. You saw Prince Andrew lose his monarchy title, right? He's no longer a prince. You've seen then other people not just be brought to light, but they're being brought to justice. And you might say, well, how does that affect my bags? Well, if you're an investor in any one of these companies, that's going to be a very big deal. If you are involved in a company that Prince Andrew was involved in, you could be facing problems. The Epstein files, or the fallout from the Epstein files, are, to put it bluntly, just getting started. There's going to be more impact. So that's another risk that we have to put on our list, right? Because we're going to have to go now find out who's within the files that we know of right now. What are their touches into, any kind of financial market, business market, whatever, and see how our bags can be affected. Could be a stock, bond, option, whatever. Companies that we're involved in, whatever. How is that going to affect us? And like I said, if a former prince can lose his title, lose his holdings, lose his income, and then be arrested, that's a clear signal that at the very least in the United Kingdom, no rock will be left unturned. Wow. Something else to think about is the standing of the United States on the global stage, because it seems like France, UK, other countries are moving far faster to rectify everything that's going on. And I'm not saying that they're all moving in the right direction or anything else like that, but they're moving faster than the United States. That's going to play out, and it's going to have far-reaching effects, definitely on our bags. We're going to have to pay attention a lot closer now. When I first started hearing about it, I was kind of like, that's not going to affect my money, so I'm not really going to pay attention to it in terms of my money. I'm going to pay attention to it from a justice perspective, but not from my money perspective. But now I'm seeing, no, I'm going to have to pay attention to every single aspect, because it represents the most widespreading risk probably ever. And people are kind of like, how could you say that? What are you talking about? Jeffrey Epstein seemed to have been in touch with people all around the world at all levels of government, business, education, higher education. This has far-reaching effects. Just saying. The Federal Reserve's meeting minutes showed a 10-2 vote to keep rates at 3.5 to 3.75%, with officials cautioning against premature rate cuts amid inflation concerns. complicating Kevin Warsh's upcoming chairmanship as Bitcoin fell amid Asian liquidity returns and U.S.-Iran tensions, and the tensions in the UK, and the other tensions in the Middle East. What does that mean? It means that we could have issues, right? It means that we haven't worked out a lot of things around the world. Current regime is talking about how he's brought peace around the world, and I'm kind of like, but you haven't brought peace to where it needs to be brought. We've caused trouble as a country. There are going to be ramifications for all of this, all of it. And right now, when you look at the FOMC is kind of like, there's zero reason to lower rates. No matter what you think, there is zero reason. 10 to 2? 10 to 2. Yeah, zero reason to lower rates. And the whole idea that the economy is doing swimmingly. What, we lost 1.5 million jobs last year? Let me rewind that. The net number of jobs only went up by 181,000. Jobs reported for January are expected to be revised because the January number was 130,000 jobs. In the whole year previous, you brought in 181,000 jobs. And then the first month of the new year, you think anybody's going to believe that you actually brought in 130? Yeah, nah. That's a huge no. That's a huge no. Nobody believes that. So the revision is what I think everybody's going to be paying attention to revision numbers, and everybody's going to be paying attention to whether or not those revised numbers are accurate. I think more and more people are going to start relying on services like ADP for at least some semblance of reality, some semblance of realistic numbers. But right now, you cannot tell me the jobs market is taking off. It's not. It's not. The jobs market is in turmoil right now. Hold on a second. Not everything is bad. Why do I feel that the jobs market is in turmoil? I believe it's in turmoil not just because, there are companies out there that actually do need to resize and all that stuff, but why? Well, they overpurchased on AI. They got way over their skis with regard to AI, and now they've got to rethink things. Smart companies are sitting back and they're kind of going, okay, we went too far with that. Let's not just go back to the way we were doing things, but let's try to revise and take a pragmatic approach to how we're going to handle resources going forward. Because that was the actual problem. It wasn't that there was a new technology that could take people out of their jobs and stuff like that. It was like, no, there's a new technology that could be leveraged to enable our people to do more. And because of that, we may have to displace a few people or a lot. But that analysis wasn't there. It was a knee-jerk reaction. And now a lot of companies are paying for that knee-jerk reaction. That knee-jerk reaction says that you're looking everything dead in front of your face, but you're not looking down the road. If I do not have a pipeline of talent, and I was touching on this last night, if I do not have a pipeline of talent coming into my company, the future of my company is at risk. Because then there'll be a gap, right? The longer I go without bringing in new talent, the gap grows. So I start bringing in new talent here. There's still this gap here. What's funny is businesses in general have a thing about hiring older people. Here's what's funny. A lot of these companies now might have to start begging those older people to stay because there already is a gap. And you're going to need these older people to stay so that you can train these new resources and hopefully close that gap. Bring them back as consultants, mentors, official mentors. Not just mentoring one person and sitting with one, no, but mentoring whole teams. companies are going to have to rethink how they do things. Companies are going to have to rethink how they do things. And as regular people go, I think you need to rethink your approach to finding your next job, your next career move. That sounds harsh, but it's not. I personally have a lot of skills that I bring to bear for all of our clients, right? But I find that every few years, I've got to repackage my skills, my speaking ability, my coaching ability, my mentoring ability, my hands-on technology abilities. Yeah, I've got to repackage every couple of years. Technologies change, business practices change. Problem is, most people don't look at their careers like that. I have a friend that is going through their resume right now. They haven't had to do a resume in over 20 years, literally. Have not needed to do a resume in over 20 years. They have no idea how to put one together. No idea how to put one together. And that's a problem, because that means that the leadership now, that high leadership now, hasn't really taught people the right way to market themselves. They've taught them the right way to kiss their tails, but they haven't really taught them the right way to market yourselves, the right way to actually demonstrate your capabilities within an organization. So you've got a big swath of people that have really good skills. They just don't know how to package that for the current climate. That's something else people are going to have to learn. To me, this is all very interesting, because I feel that a lot of companies are going to start to realize, holy moly, there are certain positions of leadership that are not filled by leaders. Yikes. Do I think the job market is going to pick up? Yes. Do I think new businesses are going to grow? Yes. And that's where the jobs will come in. Because they're not going to be the same jobs, most likely. They're not going to be based on title. They're going to be based on task. What skills do you have to match the tasks that we need done? And some of those tasks are really thought-provoking tasks. They're even talking about how you're going to bring back blue-collar jobs, but those blue-collar jobs are not going to be in dirty, dingy places. They're going to be people walking around holding iPads, holding tablets and stuff, reviewing things, doing things like that. Interesting. I believe there will be jobs. I believe there will just be different jobs, different career paths. And I think most people are going to have to learn to be open to that. If not, well, yeah, that could be on the wrong side. What else do we have? Truist Bank agreed to a $240 million settlement in a 2010 class action suit over Georgia overdraft fees. 2010. There are a lot of times when you hear about a company that's going to give a big payout and blah, 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 and it's for something that happened eons ago. That's because whenever you hear about that, that's because the company dragged it out in courts because they've got the money to do so. I want you to think about that, because that's what they do. I know of a large company right now that has been accused of shorting their customers in terms of deliveries. They're very big in the hospitality and restaurant business. And I happen to know of at least a few that like personally know these people that they've been shorted. Have it on camera. Supposed to receive this amount of a given product, only receive that amount of a given product. Yeah. Do you think that multi-billion-dollar organization is going to drag this out in court? Probably. Probably. But in the new world, there's a new court. And it's the public court. And their problem is that I think they might actually start to actually realize is going to regular courts is going to be easy. We'll just kick the can down the road. We'll throw a couple of bucks at it. And eventually either it'll go away or we'll have to pay a fraction of what people are asking for. That's cute. But in the public court, they can be destroyed. They can be destroyed. Because the products that they sell and the services that they provide, you can get from smaller businesses cheaper, more dependable, and trustworthy. Like I said, I know of at least one company where they've got them on video. And let me tell you something. When you short your customers, that's called theft. That is called theft. That's a major problem. Major, major problem. And I know that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to take to social media to talk about this company. If there's not a solution there, they're going to go and they're going to talk about this company. And you know what? Because they have that proof, that company can't even go at them with, oh, you're slandering us. No, here's the video. They come with receipts. The idea that large companies are going to be able to practice things the way they used to is also changing, right? This is what I'm getting at. How businesses do business or did business back in the day is not necessarily how they're going to be able to do business going forward. There's a massive reset coming. The old guard of kick it down the road, drag them out in court, step on them because they're small. I don't know if you've noticed, but the small people are winning. Just saying. Just going to put that out there for you so you have an understanding about how things are going on. And this is a publicly traded company that I'm talking about. Massive publicly traded company. Just saying. The Aptos Foundation proposed tokenomics reforms, including a 2.1 billion token hard cap. Blockchain platforms faced a $3.4 billion faced $3.4 billion in 2025 cyber attacks, including that $1.5 billion hack against Bybit. You want to know why I keep revisiting Bybit's hack? Because Bybit, arguably number 2 in the world behind Binance, and they came back. They handled it so well that they have no negative press from that. Instead, it's, oh, that was North Korea again. And we're going to have to gird against them. Interesting. Think about that. They were able to hit the world's number 2 centralized crypto exchange. And they've hit other things too. We're going to have to step up our game against North Korea and that Lazarus group. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's an ongoing battle. But that does affect things. $3.4 billion in 2025 lost to criminal activity, criminal hacks, directly against the industry. Yeah, I take security seriously, big time seriously. That's why I'm like wondering, why did Palo Alto, take a hit? Are you serious? They didn't get hacked. Palantir did, but Palo Alto did not. Why did they take a hit? It's a security company. They're on the right side. People need to pay better attention. Definitely. That was definitely a buying opportunity, in my humble opinion. Definitely. And definitely a lesson to be learned. Baby with the bathwater kind of thing. What else we have going on? Probably going to rifle through a few things because there's a lot more news that's there. In February 2026, Ledin, or Leadin, I never knew how to pronounce that freaking word. I think it's a stupid freaking company name. Anyway, issued $188 million in Bitcoin-backed bonds, while crypto lending activity dropped 36% to $30 billion in total value locked, fell 42% to $52 billion amid market volatility. And that's just in that space. Right now, you'll see when we go over the numbers, you'll see that, total value locked within that space, within The DeFi space is about $96 billion. Then you have California's Digital Financial Assets Law, DFAL, effective July 1st, 2026, mandates licenses for crypto exchanges, stablecoin issuers, and custodians with liquidity, cybersecurity, and consumer protection requirements. Big news. What were we just talking about? Let's go over that one more time. Stablecoin issuers and custodians, crypto exchanges, with liquidity, cybersecurity, and consumer protection requirements. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, so what else do I see coming from that? Some of these smaller exchanges could have a problem. Some of these wild, wild west exchanges could have a problem. I still wonder what's going to happen with Arkham Digital. Is anybody going to buy that piece of business? I still wonder, is anybody going to come to save Gemini? Yeah. Or just buy that business. NASDAQ seems high on the list to me. If I was MasterCard, I couldn't get my hands on Zero Hash. Would I have gone after Arkham or Gemini? Yes. I would snatch them up before a bank did. And I was touching on this last night. Have you been paying attention to all of the holdings of Kraken? Kraken is going after various facets of not just traditional finance, but the new kind of finance, right? So they are a crypto exchange. They just bought Magna, a tokenization company. They bought Ninja Trader. They bought I believe, a broker dealer. So they're covering many facets of the new way of finance. They're being very, very smart about it. Very smart about it. So if I was any kind of other financial institution, I would be paying very close attention to Kraken and what they have going on. And remember, Kraken is supposed to go IPO this year. Ta-da! They're going to come out of it. They're going to come out on the other side of that IPO as a freaking financial powerhouse. And, oh yeah, that's right. Kraken is also a bank. Remember last night I was talking about how Trust Wallet now has an on-ramp for cash? Big deal. Big deal. Trust Wallet is owned by Binance. See what I'm saying? It's a very big deal about how these things are happening, how quickly they're happening, where they're happening, when they're happening, and who they're happening for. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. You have to wake up to the idea that we should be teaching even our littlest children the basics on investing. Investing in themselves is the first thing we need to teach them. Don't shove education down their throat. Teach them about having their own value and managing that value and growing that value. Just saying, from one parent to another. Lots of good ideas out there. I think that's one of the best. There are other things you need to teach them too, but I think that's one of the best. But you know what we have to do? I'm not going to be able to get through all this news because we have to do what? That's right, go over the numbers. But here's what I will tell you. If you go over to growmybag.tv, you'll see all of the news that I'm talking about today. You'll see all the news that I'm talking about today. And in case you haven't noticed, if you pay attention to some of our shorts that are coming out, some of them are breaking news. And that breaking news, that breaking news is happening throughout the day. We'll be dropping those going forward. When we hear something that's breaking news that we think is important, we'll put it out there for you. Anyway, let's go over the numbers. Let's see. Let me get my notes out of the way. I keep telling you guys, we do the research. We do the research. These are all, so when I come up with a bullet point up here, the substantial information or the paragraph that I need to actually deliver that news is right there. Just saying. I do the research. That's why I keep telling you to do the same thing. Today, we have Dow Futures implied open 152 points down. S&P Futures implied open 17 points down. NASDAQ Futures implied open 84.5 points down. Oil up 1.14. We've been eking up, people. Oil is getting more expensive. Remember, JD Vance came out with that rah-rah, when was it, yesterday, talking about, yeah, Iran didn't do what we told them to do, and so, military action is on the table. You couldn't be more freaking stupid, because now you're raising prices. Like I said, couldn't be more stupid. U.S. 10-year up 0.013. Companies reporting today: Walmart, Rio Tinto, Deere Company. Who else am I paying attention to? Comfort Systems, Consolidated Edison. That's right, power company. I'm paying attention to all kinds of power companies. Live Nation Entertainment, another company that I want to pay attention to. Big deal. There are a whole bunch of other companies I'm paying attention to. Fidelity National Financial, Guardant Health, Akamai Technologies. A lot of people don't know about Akamai. I was actually at a company using Akamai when Akamai just got started. Akamai is no joke. They're like the back end of everything on the internet. Got to pay attention to them. Today's Thursday. What are we getting today? Initial jobless claims, U.S. trade deficit. We have the Philadelphia Fed manufacturing survey, advanced U.S. trade balance goals, or goods rather, advanced retail inventories, advanced wholesale inventories, and you have some Fed speak. Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. Then on Friday's the big day. PCE, GDP, personal income. I'm telling you, Friday is going to be huge. Friday is going to be freaking huge. I was just watching a segment, and my little brother's company that he works for, he's a CIO, their CEO came out and said, yeah, we're expecting a lot of people to have financial issues because there are more loans that are going to happen in 2026. 2026 in terms of loans, personal loans, mortgage refinancing, mortgages at any rate, car loans, all going to grow. Why is that? People need credit. What they're saying is people are going to be living off of credit more and more. You tell me if that's a good thing. Fear and greed index is at 9. Look at that. Not a good place to be. Like I said, we're about $96 billion for total value locked in the DeFi space. That's exactly where we are. $95.283 billion in total value locked. Bitcoin dropped. Look at where we are right now. This is the short end. We dropped from all the way up here to all the way down here, and now we're hovering just a little bit above. And if you look at this consolidation, yes, we're moving within a small space, but if you look at this consolidation, we've been moving down. We've been moving down. Let me see if I can draw a little something. 1, 2, 3, give or take. Give or take, right there. See if I wonder if I can stretch that out. See if I get any hints. Right there. Do I get anything? Let's see. I'm just curious to see what that line looks like. Yeah, that's pretty doggone close. That's your trend line. Yeet. Yeet. That's a no bueno situation. But if I just bring that back over here and I just do it, in this local area right here, your trend line is about right here. Yep. It's about right there. So do I see 63,719 in our future? Sadly, yes. If I was to extend this, you could see the trajectory of what we could have going on. Can't draw another trend line over here because it also points down. There's nothing pointing up. Just saying. Looking at the big board, everything's still on sale. Nothing's changed here. Let's look across over here. Yeah, there's nothing really popping over here. Nothing really doing great. But over the last 30 days, Hyperliquid is still up 24%. Year to date, it's still up 11.58%. Nobody's doing spectacularly well. Nobody. Let's see. Let's stop here. Gold, yeah. But to be expected, but nothing huge. S&P, what is it, the S&P 500 last year was 17%. Yeah, these are at 14 and 15%. Yes, I do hold a bag of PAX-G, but nothing's doing spectacularly well. But can you make money on the way down? Yes. Because even though the trajectory might be going down, there are still those points where it goes up and then goes down, goes up and then goes down. Just say it. There are ways that you can make money. And if you can't do it in this market, maybe you can do it in this market. It's not just about finding ways to make money in only crypto or only stocks or only buying into a business. There are multiple ways that you can make money. Your job is to grow your value. So your job is doing your own research, knowing your entries and exits, and absolutely investing deliberately. That means casting your gaze across the various opportunities. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about this community, because it's the only community out there, the number one community out there that cares about your knowledge and you investing in yourself. I ask that question every day. In the morning, I ask the question every day, or actually tell you, don't forget to invest in yourself. And at night, I ask one question: have you invested in yourself? I do it every day. I do it every day. Everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. We're going to work on doing that and maintaining that trust every single day. Everybody have a good one. I'll be back tonight for the overflow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.